Hello and welcome to Beloved Blackness. I'm Dr. B, and I thought this week I could speak about one, given we're entering into Black History Month, and I thought it would be important to talk about why is it necessary, which I kind of connect. You hear sometimes people say, why do you need a month to talk about Black history? Well, why do we need a vlog to talk about beloved blackness? Well, they kind of go hand in hand. That Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was the originator of, actually at that time was New York History Week, knew that we needed to know our history to be affirmed, to be reconnected to the dignity of those who he would have referred to at the time, Negroes, who had accomplished and attained things that the system that was set up did not expect them to be able to accomplish or attain, and so wanted to affirm us in that kind of way. Well, with Beloved Blackness, my hope is that we can begin to affirm who we are in terms of understanding our cultural selves, but also understand that the system in which we find ourselves, whether we're in the United States or other places in the diaspora or even on the continent of Africa, that there have been intentional systemic ways in which how we see ourselves has been viewed as inferior or less than or substandard and certainly not human. And I'm thinking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When he was given his Southern Christian Leadership Conference presidential address, actually his last address. He talked about where do we go from here? And he really laid out where we were in terms of the state of Black people at that time. And so much of what he pointed out was where we were in comparison to where white people were. And in essence, what he was trying to point out was, look, Black bodies have been used in an exploitative way to build a system that gives advantage and gains, capitalistic gains, to white people. And he was laying out the housing piece, the financial piece, all these different pieces. And he moved himself in that speech, which I concur with, that we can examine the political system, the social system, all these different components. But if we miss out on the psychological, we're missing out on what's holding these other systems up. That we must deal with the fact that these systems have been built upon creating the image that we as Black people are less than. And he says in that same address that first we must massively assert our own dignity and worth. And it's important, right? Because he says massively assert it. Now, there's something very, very, very political and radical when we choose to massively assert our own dignity and worth, because we're in a system that says we have no dignity, we have no worth. So when we make a choice to not just assert it, but to massively assert it, and massively, for me, when I hear or read him saying that, it reminds me that there must be a massive assertion in the other direction, which there is, right? We're bombarded with images that are negative, images that leave us feeling ashamed of ourselves. And we must, as a people, in order to heal, and actually live into the wonder of the future that we have as African descendant people, we have to massively assert our dignity and worth. And that takes time. You first have to know what's massively disasserting your dignity and worth in order to be able to also massively begin to assert it and to be grounded in what you're going to assert it in. So I'm hoping each week you get a little clear picture about those things that take away your dignity and your worth and that you've internalized and may not even have been aware of. But also you find ways to be able to affirm and get clearer about who you are in terms of your African cultural selves. All right, that's it for Beloved Blackness this week.